what's up? It's Annika, and in this video I want to walk you through how I paid off all of my credit card debt this year. If you've been following along, then you know I am on a debt-free journey, and if you want to hear my full story of all my credit card debt and consumer debt and student loan debt and all of the debt, then go watch my video on where I explain like my full debt journey. But in this video, I kind of want to talk about little tips and tricks that I utilized to pay off my credit card debt before the year is over. If you are not already, please subscribe to my channel. I'm here to create a happy and financially free life, so come along for the ride. I have plenty of more debt journey videos to come because your girl is not debt free quite yet, but I am credit card debt free, so I'm super excited to be filming this video. And if you haven't watched my debt payoff update video that I uploaded last week, then spoiler alert, I paid off all my credit cards, and that was like my very exciting announcement. So without further ado, let's talk about how I did that. So a little backstory, I had over about $20,000 in credit card debt. I tracked it in like these little bar charts so that I could visually see exactly how much I had, and I was always keeping an eye on my balances. So in January of this year, January 2020, I decided that I wanted to follow Dave Ramsey's 7 baby steps into getting myself out of debt and being financially at peace and free. So that's when I really started tracking, and that I consider like the start of my payoff journey, because before that I was paying like maybe the minimums on everything and had no idea how much debt I was really in. So I had 5 credit cards. I had a Target card, the Chase Disney card, I had like a travel card for travel points, Citi card, which actually the Citi and my partner's cards were combined into one credit card, and that was a Chase Southwest credit card, which got over $11,000 on that one card. So that was by far like my worst credit card balance, but I ended up refinancing that, or the term isn't refinancing, it's like a balance transfer. That's like the actual correct term, I believe. I did a balance transfer for as much as I could to the Citi card, which was $5,300. And then the rest I originally had kept on my Chase Southwest card balance, and that was about $6,000, but the interest rate was, I want to say, about 26%, which is ridiculous, and the balance was so high that it didn't make sense to do that. So I did another balance transfer to my partner's card. So that honestly saved me a lot. If you can do a balance transfer and get a lower interest rate, that will make it so much easier to pay off more of your debt faster. So I would definitely recommend that. And certain companies will do like a 0% APR for the first like 12 months or the first like 6 months, things like that. So I would keep my eye out for deals like that. Overall, I'm paying off my debt using the snowball method, which means that I'm paying off my debt in lowest balance to highest balance. The other way you could do that is using the avalanche method, which some people call the avalanche method by paying off your highest balance, but other people refer to it as paying off the balance with the highest interest rate first. So you could do that too. But for me, since my highest debt balance was my gigantic student loan, over like $180,000, I knew that I was not going to tackle that first because it just wouldn't give me the small wins that I personally needed, which is why I decided to do the snowball method. And all of my credit card balances were my lowest balances of my debt. So my other balances were things for my car, my student loans, all of those other things. First was my credit cards. That's what I wanted to focus on and get rid of, so I could have no credit card debt and then just focus on my car and my student loans. So you want to learn how to pay off credit cards? The answer is you have to just do it. I mean, there are plenty of different tips that I'm going to give you in this video, but honestly, the first step is you figuring out how much debt you actually have. Second step is stop using your credit cards, stop adding to your balances, and in the long run, that's just going to accrue even more interest for you to have to pay off. So stop using them. Next step would be to figure out what your minimum balances are for all of your credit cards. start with, if you're doing the snowball method, start with the lowest one and figure out how much extra money you can be throwing at your smallest debt. So if that means cutting down on your grocery cost, maybe you usually spend like $500 if you have like a family, or I actually don't know how much families would spend, so I'm just gonna talk about if you're one person. So if you're one person like me, then I used to spend probably like $400 or $500 on groceries a month, which is ridiculous for one person. Like that's too much. So I decided to, I think I slowly was able to kind of lower that into ranging from $200 to like $350 a month, depending on the scenarios for that month. But I cut off some of my grocery budget, and then I was able to throw that extra money towards my smallest debt. Now, the key in order to being able to track that is budgeting. If you've been following along, then you know that I am such a walking ad for the EveryDollar Budget app. It is incredible and it changed my life. It's a free app where you can track every single thing. You can add in all of your income, all of your different categories. It splits it up nicely for things like groceries, miscellaneous items, clothing, your debt payments, everything. You can add it all in there, and the point is to use every dollar, hence the EveryDollar Budget app. So you put in all your income, you budget every single dollar, whether it's to things like your groceries, whether it's things to debt, whether it's to savings. So you're actually budgeting every single dollar that comes in, so that way there's no like left over. Every dollar is going somewhere to push you along. So let's see, where are we at? First step, figure out how much debt you have. Second step, stop adding to your debt. Third step, create a budget and stick to it. It's okay to stray from your budget. It'll take you probably at least a few months to get the hang of it, getting used to tracking all of your purchases, getting used to how much you need to allocate for each category. I think I want to do like a separate how to budget video. I've done a couple budget with me videos. I did one for October and I'm gonna do one for December, but I didn't do one for November just because I was moving and all that craziness. But I do want to do kind of like a tips on budgeting video, so I think I will. But once you've kind of created that plan for yourself, the next step is executing that plan. So like I said, you want to make sure you're throwing every extra amount of money you can towards your debt, and that will make all the difference. So for me, I ended up picking up a side hustle and a couple side hustles over the summer to really get into gear and pay off my balances. When I actually paid off my first credit card, I think that was back in May-ish time, June-ish time of this year. So in about 5 to 6 months, it took me to pay off my first card. And that balance was $1,583.84. That took me about 5 to 6 months. But once I got that first card paid off, like I could taste victory. Like it was so incredible. So that just motivated me that much more to then, okay, I gotta get the next balance, and then okay, gotta get the next one and the next one and the next one, until eventually you look back and it's all paid off and you're like, what? When did that happen? And it's the best feeling. So if you're watching this and you're in a ton of credit card debt and in over your head, trust me, I know what that feeling feels like, and it won't last forever as long as you get your butt into gear. Now, personally, I was very lucky to keep my job this year. I know many people weren't quite as lucky. They were either furloughed from their job, they were laid off, or anything of that nature due to COVID-19, and that obviously makes things much tougher. And I can't even imagine what you're going through, because like I was lucky enough to stay on at my job and able to pick up other side hustles to help me along. So if you are one of those people who is having trouble finding work, I would say start picking up the easier jobs. And by that I don't mean easy, I mean things that can move quickly. Like many jobs take a while to apply, get through the interview process, and then actually get an offer, whereas a lot of the options that I listed in my side hustles video on my channel, things like driving for Uber, driving for Instacart, driving for Grubhub, things like that, you can apply and get accepted practically instantly and get going. Maybe you don't have a car, that makes things a lot more difficult, but then I also list a couple virtual options in my side hustles video, so be sure to check that out. But you kind of have to make your situation work for you. And I know that's easy for me to say after having done it and having a job, and I'm not trying to come at you from that direction, but you do have to work really hard. And I actually worked so hard. Like, I was working probably 70 to 75 hours a week over the summer when I would work my full-time job 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and my job actually requires me to be on longer hours sometimes. Like, I'll have midnight releases, so I'll have to log on at midnight, maybe be on for a couple hours into the night. I'll work on weekends and just different things like that. So very, very busy with just my main job. But I was actually also a tech camp instructor over the summer. I would teach kids how to code, and so I would finish my day job and then I would log on to teach on Zoom all of my kids, and I would teach them things like Java programming and just like general coding basics, which was great. And it was actually kind of easy for me because I studied computer science in school and I have a technical degree, so it was more of just kind of relaxing for me and nice to be able to help out these kids in this unprecedented time of Zoom University. But I was so lucky to be able to have that side hustle, and that actually brought me a lot of extra income and was a main reason, or a big reason, of how I was able to pay off my credit cards even faster. So I actually use a full-on spreadsheet of tracking all of my debt, and it will list exactly when my payoff dates are. So I highly recommend using that, because when you can see things visually and like you can see the finish line and know exactly when you're going to pay things off, that is so much more motivating. So staying motivated during this process is very important. You have to keep yourself motivated, because you may not have someone else to push you. You may not have someone else to hold you accountable. So really, you have to be that person for yourself. For me, I decided to kind of share my entire journey on YouTube, so one, I could be held accountable, but two, let people know that they're not alone in this. And I wanted to share my tips and tricks along the way and things that I've learned having gone through this journey. And I'm just super nosy of like people's finances. Like, I don't think we talk about that enough. But okay, let's summarize. Step 1, figure out how much debt you have. Step 2, stop adding to your debt. Step 3, create a budget, create a plan, stick to it. Try your best. It's okay if you stray. Like, I've strayed so much, but keep coming back to your plan and keep recognizing your goals. And what am I on? Step 4, I think. Know your why. Why do you want to pay off debt? Why do you want to pay off your credit cards? Why do you want to do that? And the reason could be different for anyone. It could be something little, it could be something big. You could have something coming up in your life, like maybe you're gonna have a new baby or something that you just like don't want to have to worry about that stuff anymore. Then that's a great reason. So whatever reason you come up with is a perfect reason, and just make sure that you keep that in mind going along. Number 5 is to hold yourself accountable and stick to it, which kind of ties into step 4, but really taking the first step is the hardest, and getting through the pain of realizing how much debt you actually have because that was a shock to me for sure. But once you're over that and you start getting those small wins, it will push you through to the very end, and then before you know it, like I said, you'll look back and be like, how did that happen? I'm done. I don't have credit card debt. What do you mean? Hello? My final tips I have for you would be to try and alleviate some of your debt. Like how I was saying, how I did balance transfers for a lot of my high interest credit cards, like that could make such a huge difference for you. So I would look into that. It's not the greatest idea to have to open up another credit card, but you know that it will actually save you in interest, so it could work out in your favor. But I would definitely do your homework and definitely do the math on if that's something that would actually benefit you, then by all means go ahead and do it. What's also helped me a lot is I listen to the Dave Ramsey podcast. So he has a radio show, and if you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, like just go ahead and Google him. He's like a financial guru guy, but he has a radio show which in turn runs a podcast episode. So it's the same thing, but it's just like a podcast version. But listening to the podcast and listening to other people's stories, other people's questions, listening to his advice, and it all ties back to his baby steps, which I would recommend you also look into if you're on a debt journey. And that really motivated me, and listening to people do their debt-free screams, so emotional. Also, this one hair keeps sticking out. I also joined the Dave Ramsey Facebook page to watch other people paying off their credit cards, paying off their cars, paying off their houses. Like, that was so motivating to me, and it just pushed me to someday want to post that for myself and actually have accomplished my goals. So that was great. So those are the best tips and steps, I guess, that I have. They may have seemed a little bit general, but once you kind of start on your journey, you'll get a better understanding of what all of the steps and tips that I actually laid out actually mean. So really, you just have to jump right in and believe that you can do it. So I really hope this helped you, and if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions for me, please leave them in the comments down below, and I will try my best to answer them in the best way that I can. I'm no expert, and I'm no finance analyst person. Like, I can't even count 1 + 1. I mean, that's what calculators are for, but I can help you from my personal experience. So if you would like to reach out and kind of have a conversation about anything finance related and debt related, like, I would love to converse about that. So do let me know. But thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.